Hey,
Yeah. All
Seminole State
right.
family. All right. Welcome, Seminole State family, to Research Rally Live. We are faculty librarians at Seminole State College of Florida. I'm Nicole,
I'm Jason.
I am Ross.
and we want to spend the next 30 minutes doing research with you. We are about to search, sift, sort, and suss our way through several sources. As always, we want to hear from you in the chat, especially if you have research questions. But before we get into that, let's find out what is going on at Seminole State this week. How are we, everyone? How are we?
Yeah,
All
drop your names
right.
into the chat. Drop your professor for
Yes.
IDS 1107 into the chat.
All right, so welcome. So this is Research Rally Live. As mentioned, we want to check in on what is going on around campus. As librarians, we don't just stick in the library. We work with lots of our friends across campus and lots of different departments. And we want to spread the word about events and goings-ons that students or faculty or staff would want to know about. Today, we're looking at Radar Connect. This is a great place to find most of the events that are on campus. I can Google it, Google Radar Connect SSC. You will find it. Also, you see the website is down below, connect.seminolestate.edu/events. As you can see here, I am signed in with my single sign-on or my Seminole State sign-on that I log into everything, Canvas, email, all that stuff. That is so that I can make sure I see everything that's going on that's in Radar Connect. So what do we got coming up? I see chess club. I think the president of the chess club might be in nearby.
Yeah, for sure. We have the chess club that's happening. I serve as the advisor, and you can learn, you could play, you could watch, and we also have Nightberry that's happening. So today we had Lunchberry earlier. This is the first installment of the next. We have 11 more weeks of Lunchberry and Nightberry every Wednesday at the Sanford Lake Mary campus. And be sure to put your name and the name of your IDS professor into the chat, and we'll get you some credit. But I see a lot of fun events there, Ross.
Yeah, I saw that the Raider Center tour is tomorrow. I didn't even know that Jeff did those kind of things. That's pretty cool.
I know, yeah. It's an excellent center, lots of great facilities. So definitely if you're interested in getting active or doing some team sports, definitely check that out. The SGA.
Or get swole.
Get swole.
Yeah, get swole.
Table tennis game day. Yeah.
Well, we have a table tennis here too in the library. There's more Lunchberry. So, FAFSA. Yes, those FAFSA workshops are legit. They happen, I think they're weekly. It's in the L building here on the Sanford Lake Mary campus. We've escorted a few students and their families looking for that. It is definitely a hot item here. You want to get that FAFSA in because you want to get the money. They should put a dollar sign on the S for the FAFSA. That's what they should do.
All right, call up the government? It's a government thing. Why don't you
just call the government. Hey, is the government there? Yeah. Oh, I'll hold. Sure, thanks.
All right. So, speaking of sources, who do we have
here?
Hey,
what's up, Alejandra? Okay, Tiffany Revels. Okay, Miss Revels, that's great. Welcome.
Okay, so we're librarians. We do research. Research Rally Live. It's research. Is ice cold water bad for you? That is our starter topic for the day. And I say starter topic because as librarians, when we're working with students or even with each other, sussing out information, a lot of times we have to start with are we asking the right question? Are we phrasing it in a good way? Do we need to change our vocabulary? That is a part of the process. So I don't know, fellas, is ice cold water bad for you? Can that be the topic of my paper? Do I need to rephrase that? Are you wondering why I asked that question? Because I was scrolling through YouTube the other day and I see a YouTube short, and they're not a sponsor yet, but I am part of the Stanley Nation now. Okay, Stanley culture. Okay.
There it is. Okay, so shout out.
I'm thinking about ice water constantly, every day, all day. And it said this lady that says she was a doctor. I did not double check this. I did not sift and sort. Okay, and did not suss it out yet. That's why we're doing it today. Said that, if you sip ice cold water, it can hurt you. It'll activate some underlying condition. And I was shocked to the core. So again, inspired the topic today.
Right. So again, what we're doing today is Nicole is trying to get free products from Stanley. JK. We're trying to assess, is this our research topic? Should we rearrange this into a different research question? And I'll start. First of all, we need water. So whether or not it's hot or Nicole, we need water. Is it good or bad for you? I would say maybe are there negative effects of ice water or ice? Like, I don't know, because the ice water, I'm not sure. Full disclosure, everyone, I'm going to come clean here. I'm going to make a big statement on the Research Rally Live. I dislike ice. I do not like ice. I don't want an ice maker. The ice maker keeps me up in the freezer. I don't like chewing the ice. It's not good for your teeth. I don't find any good positive benefits of ice, if you can give me that. So I'm kind of hip to is the ice water bad for you? But that's only a personal preference. We'll have to dive deeper, Ross. What do you think of the research statement? Should we rearrange it?
Well, I mean, my instinct on that is to say, like, what is it bad for? Because I mean, I did have a doctor one time tell me with my stomach issues that like drinking room temperature water was better for like processing food and stuff, but I don't remember anything about that. I just remember hearing that statement.
Okay, so, and we can call that anecdata because we haven't done research. Now, it was from a doctor, but it was kind of like one time. So this is why when we are sifting through information, okay, we want to identify multiple sources that say more or less the same thing, credible sources that say the same thing. So thank you, Ross, and go back to you, Ross.
Is ice water bad for? I'm just Googling it now. We're
going. Yeah, that's what I did as well. I mean,
do you want to share your screen?
Yeah,
I can queue up the databases. So that databases page for in a minute if we want to go there. But yeah, if you want to share your screen, you're Googling.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just going to go, and I don't know if everyone has kind of noticed here. Let's see. Ice water bad for you. I don't know if everyone has noticed, but Google has really quick. They've done this thing now where they have this AI overview, and you'll start to see in real time, if you haven't already, the answers will start popping up. Let's see if it does it if I just refresh. Oh, sometimes if it's blue, it'll like kind of do this. It'll give you the first part, and then they're immediately directing you Healthline. I'm a big fan of Healthline. We can explain why.
Okay,
but they're really started. Yeah, so for Healthline, so when you click on Healthline, they're going to give you pretty much a doctor, and then they're going to give you a reviewed by. So you can kind of see this. So it's medically reviewed by this person who has a PhD, a CSD. We'll have to look and see what that is. I think that this and a nutrition, nutrition, and then by Catherine Watson, and then there's an updated date, so it's within a year. It looks pretty good. So that's why I like Healthline, and I haven't even looked at the content yet. I'm just looking at more of the who wrote this information. Staying hydrated, proven results for your mental and your physical. We've kind of already gone over that. Quote, there's no evidence that drinking cold water is bad for your health, end quote, period. Drop mic. Session over. Is that it? I mean, you got Stanley. Shout out to Stanley, though. Get that free swag.
If I don't want this ice, I'm going to have to wait at least, I think, 3 days for it to melt in here. Just saying, Jason.
Keep going. Both cold and room temperature water will keep you hydrated. That's kind of a duh. And then drinking warm water has its benefits. So what I was told, Nicole, is first thing in the morning, you're supposed to have room temperature or warm water, and then maybe with a lemon, maybe some oxidization. Right.
Oxidize. Okay, I've heard about the lemon thing before.
Right.
So yes. Okay.
Or citrus infused, any sort of sometimes you see grapefruit, or you see oranges or lemons, or even cucumber. If you get fruity with it, then it kind of. But so far, we've already debunked this. Now that's one source. And if you're coming from any school of thought or journalism or anything, you kind of always have to have two sources to corroborate. So maybe we need Ross, maybe we need one more source. And you can always use that Healthline in the upper right-hand corner. You want to check for medically, evaluated by this person, check their credentials, and look at the date, folks. Look at the date. If it was from 1,000 billion years ago, and they say don't use fire because, we never know, that would get us in big trouble now. We use fire all the time, right?
Ross, did you find anything to start out?
Well,
where'd you start out with?
I was kind of interested in seeing like what some of the scholarly research had to say about this too. And something that popped up that I thought was interesting. Let me see if I can share this easily. Yeah. I think I can. What I saw here that I thought was interesting. Oh, I got to blow that up, don't I? Is there's a lot of research on this about temperature of drinking water and things like that. But the first thing that caught my eye is there's quite a bit of research on the temperature of water for drinking for cows. So we probably need to define that in our research
Oh,
question
wow,
here. It's
okay.
like,
I don't know, Ross. That point
human
is kind of
consumption.
moved.
I like it.
That's
Yeah.
good. Hey, on that note, I did reformulate this statement just in case this is something I wanted to do for a research paper. I think my professor might accept better, might be more likely to accept. Does ice cold water negatively affect human physiology? Is that, are we getting somewhere with that? Does that sound more official? Is that being more specific? Negatively affect human physiology? Definitely not cow physiology or bovine, scientific term for cow, right? But physiology, I don't know. I don't even know if physiology is the right word, but I'm just massaging that a little bit because again, is ice cold water bad for you is not for your thesis. We'd have to rephrase it.
And Alejandra brought up a good point too. I think this is the article that she was referring to here. Should you drink warm or cold? And then this basically in the article has a gastroenterologist. And they're a medical doctor. So to Ross's point, what qualify? Now this is really getting granular here, folks. Are you going to wake up first thing in the morning and then like test your water to see where it should be? Cold tap water, according to this article, should be 60 Fahrenheit. And then room temperature is 78 Fahrenheit. But do you really, like, how do you have a thermometer? You put in the thermometer in the water?
I mean, if you wanted to get that serious about it, I mean, and maybe you are at the point where you want to get that serious about it.
So here it is thank you, Alejandra. This is the corroborating second article that I would need. Dr. Weiner says there isn't a lot of science to back up the claim whether or not cold water is good for you or not. So at this point in the research process, you might want to take a pause and go, hey, professor, maybe I want to change my research topic or something else. Like this is going to be kind of a moot point unless are you interrupting me, Nicole? Or is that
always go on.
I'm just saying, I at this point, if we're looking at it from a research standpoint, I've already seen 2 articles from 2 medical professionals within the past 3 or closer years that are already saying, bruh, move on. Like there's nothing, move on from the cow. That's a callback.
Can we pull back up that Cleveland article, and not to pick on the Cleveland article in particular, but this is a good opportunity to look at some of the spots where when we sift through information sources, we want to like investigate. First we stop, and then we want to investigate a little further. What is this website? Who made it? Let's just super double check. I can see it's a .org. We do talk a lot about how .orgs can be organizations that might have a certain bent. It could be like political, religious, or otherwise. Maybe that's not what's going on here, but it's something to keep an eye on. A .com, anyone can get a .com. A lot of times .govs, .edus, those are the ones we trust the most technically for most information needs. But here, what is the Cleveland Clinic? Can we look at the very top or the very bottom?
Yeah, so there's nothing on the top. This is definitely not like the city of Cleveland. This is a medical website. I'm trying to, because there was nothing on top, I'm trying to go to the bottom, and I'm going slow just for the purpose of our show here, but there should be a last updated, and there is not. There should be a date published, and that I believe was at the top, and that was the 2022. Now keep in mind, you want to have a good 3 to 5 year radius depending on what the information is, such as your bank account. You probably want up-to-date information. It gives you no use or pleasure knowing how much money you had in your bank account 7 years ago, so you always want up-to-date information. But the point is Nicole, you found out about this thing that you saw or read or whatever in 2024, I'm assuming. Sure. Yeah, so this thing now is going back 2 years, and then it's not necessarily written by this person, which is strange to me. Do you notice that there's no byline, meaning there's no author? So I'm taking umbrage with this, the fact that there's no author, and then they're citing, meaning they're saying that this guy, Brian, the MD here, but my question to you in the audience, and we already know the answer, is who wrote this, right? Cleveland Clinic does not have a pen or a computer, right? They are not a human. You cannot take them out to dinner. You cannot play basketball against Cleveland Clinic. So therefore, who wrote this? So you probably want to go up to Cleveland Clinic and then go to try to find the About Us and try to see 100 years. Here it is. So already 100 years is giving it some credibility, right? It's been around for, well, I'm 100, but you two, both of your 2 ages combined maybe is 100. But you could see this. Cleveland Clinic was at the forefront of modern medicine in 1921. So this is what I would kind of aim at if I'm defending why I would use this. However, according to me,
I
and
saw a lot of ads.
You two can chime in. I did not see an author. And I do not like the fact that I did not see an author. I did see a date, but then I'm thinking, how is there a date if there's no author? So I'm going to peel back away from this one.
Okay. What's your take, Ross?
Well, I mean, with a corporate author like that, I'm not surprised that they didn't name an author. It's like if you were citing something from like a government publication, they'll never cite an individual on there. But, I think Jason raises a good point there, too. It's like we want to be really sure of who's presenting this evidence, right? I mean, I was talking with an interior design class today, and we were looking at a business publication that talked about interior design, and they were talking to business managers. What do they really know about interior design and so on there? So you want to be careful with that. But.
Now, I do want to recognize Alejandra for throwing up that source in the chat. Throwing up. I could have said anything else.
Thanks for that, Alejandra. Source.
And I want to make sure that Alejandra and others that are watching understand, like, it doesn't mean that source, like, we're shaking it down a little bit and being like, we're leaning away from it. But authority is constructed and contextual. And depending on the information need, it's not like we'd say, we wouldn't use that at all. We're finding the same similar information in other sources. So we, at the very least, we could say, the Cleveland Clinic article that, we had some misgivings about, can we identify who wrote it? And that kind of made us feel some kind of way. It did corroborate the same factual information that we've seen in other sources where maybe we have a little bit more confidence. So in that sense, that article is not devoid or without any value. So I want to definitely emphasize that as we're using information sources, we don't just throw them all out in the trash if they're not like perfect. We kind of use them all to create a big picture about what we can really understand and know to be true.
For sure. And that whole thing about authority is constructed and contextual, to use an example, sometimes go to airline pilots. The airline pilot, they know how to fly the plane. I am assuming, Ross and Nicole, that you two don't. But once you land the plane and the airline pilot then goes, into a courtroom or onto the baseball field, all that knowledge that they have up in the sky, that doesn't matter in that other situation, right? So it's contextual. It depends on where it is. You can have somebody who lives on the street and they're 100 years old and they've lived in that same neighborhood for 100 years. They don't have a PhD. They've never went to college, but they know every single thing about that. So they would be the expert of that street or that area, right? So they don't necessarily need a PhD. And this guy doesn't necessarily, or this woman, they don't need to wear their pilot's, attire when they go, to the courthouse. So it changes where you're going, right? But I wanted to put in the chat, how do you assess things, right? How, when you get the scam caller or the unknown, scam likely or the unknown caller on your phone, do you answer it? What about that green moldy thing in the back of the fridge that used to look fine, but now you look at it and you go, that looks nasty, I'm not eating it. We assess things every day. When you're doing college research, you must do the same. You have to critically analyze. It's your grade. It's your payment. You're putting the tuition forward and it's going on your permanent record and you want to get your diploma, right? So you really want to make sure that this is good, credible, reliable information.
What was the movie, or was it a song where like, this is going to go on your permanent record?
Oh, the Violent Femmes. Violent Femmes, of course.
Yes. Okay. Niche music reference. I knew that Jason and Ross could figure that out. Okay. I didn't even know what it was. It was just in my brain, buried deep below in the layers. And
just really quick, let's just pause really quick. Some of the people watching might be a smidge younger than we are. Back in my day, when I used to shake my fist and tell you to get off my lawn, if somebody said this would go down in your permanent record, that was like the worst drop mic moment. That would scare you straight. Oh, my permanent record? Oh no. And so I heard that. I don't know about you guys. I used to hear that a lot. You better watch out, Nicole. Why? Because that'll go down to your permanent record. Oh, my permanent record. I better put the...
Yeah, it was more elusive. Like now I can look up anyone's record on the internet, basically, more or less. No, we can. But like back then, we didn't have the internet. It was like your permanent record was like, scurried away somewhere behind doors and people. And it was like, you couldn't, it was just much more under lock and key. Like now, if like something happens and like if you can make a whole fake identity online and trick people into thinking that's the you. Anyway, so we're diverging a little bit. I pulled up the library website because we've done some internet research, and Ross went to Google Scholar several minutes ago, which is a great place to go finding scholarly articles. But of course, the library. Okay, we are librarians. We support the library. We promote the library. We have databases. Okay, where we can find some more scholarly research. And a lot of times your professor will be like, hey, you need to have scholarly articles. So let's see if we can find anything about does ice cold water negatively affect human physiology in the research databases. And fellas, if you want to if you want to do a search as well and see if you can find anything that might, help us out. All right. I don't even know. I think ice cold ice. I'm just feeling water temperature.
I think at this point, yeah, you might want to keep if the professor is like, no, you must. This is a science class. You must do it on water, something with water. But we've already seen that there's no value to that. So therefore, I don't even want to bash the person who made the video online or whatever, but I just, that opens the door to just beware of online content creators and TikTok content creators who are saying, yeah, jump off of this boat while it's going 100 miles an hour, or, eat this, dump a bunch of something, please don't do any of that. But I will share that the greatest hits record is actually called Permanent Record, which I think is that's a very catchy kind of riff on Permanent Record, and it's called Record, and the record is called Permanent Record. So back to you, Nicole.
Sure. So what? I'm doing something and trying to think at the same time. It's so hard. So I went to the basic search bar on the library website. Okay, you can search anything in here, but what happens is when you search here, and does it save my thing? Yeah. Okay. It pulls up a list of books, ebooks, articles. It pulls up a bunch of different stuff. Sometimes it works out, and you're like, yeah, that's something that sounds good. But sometimes this is like too many choices at the outset to really be effective. A librarian can always help you do research. I just tried to get a little bit creative with my search terms and search some different ways. But I don't like what I found. I actually think I would rather go back to like original ice cold water. Remember,
Nicole,
searching is strategic exploration. We have to try different things. It's normal.
It is. We've been zipping and zapping along. I would encourage you, Nicole, and maybe you could do it in real time. Negative effects of ice water. So I eventually Googled what it is that I thought of. And according to Google, which is not a person, drinking cold water can have negative effects on your health. So
is affects the right?
E with an E.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Heart rate, digestion, congestion, headaches, teeth. It can be uncomfortable. And then once again, it sends you to a couple of those, the Cleveland Clinic, and I think it goes back to Healthline, but it's the same couple of articles. But you just want to take nothing at face value ever. You just want to look at, and again, think about it with your friends or your people or whatever. As soon as someone says something to you, who told you that? Where'd you get that from? Where'd you see that? Right? So you were always trying to corroborate it. What do you do before you cross the street? You check both ways, don't you? I mean, come on. We analyze and evaluate all the time, and then we go to college, and then we go, oh, the first thing I see on Google, which is usually an ad, or usually Wikipedia, or usually something maybe a .com, which, as Nicole said, is the hardest to suss out. Don't just take that. Did you know that there's more than one page of search results on Google? It's not just the first couple of items, you guys. All right, what came
what's
up,
going
Nicole?
on down there with you?
Well, so something that I noticed when I searched here is I hadn't really thought of this, is when I searched for water temperature, I started to see things about water temperature in terms of water quality. Like they were talking about like the temperature of water systems, and they were comparing different countries, and colder water seemed to produce better quality water. I hadn't thought about it in those terms. I was thinking about strictly like personal health. And then I saw an article that studied water temperatures on the progression of Alzheimer's disease in mice.
Oh,
and what they found there was that colder water seemed to progress Alzheimer's disease faster. But it's not
in mice.
They specifically say in there that there's no evidence that it's directly correlational to humans. But
okay, so that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important to pay attention to those little details.
It's good to know, Nicole, if you're a mouse.
Yeah.
But does the mouse care?
I don't know.
Right.
We're in Orlando. Can anyone think of a famous mouse? I'm not sure. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
And then I saw another
Lifespan of the
article.
mouse. Yeah.
I saw another article talking about how the temperature of water increases people's interest in drinking water. So there might be a benefit to saying that cold water makes people want to drink more water.
That's the Stanley Racket right there.
So
All
students, if you're paying attention, and we're going all over the place, but we are centered on a focus, we're looking at the different we're creating a mind map. If you rewatch this kind of episode, we're going in different areas of where we could take just water as a very broad research topic, and maybe even sprinkle in benefits or negative effects. And we could see that the water in cows, for Alzheimer's, for mice, and we were able to kind of see this kind of bigger picture, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, what do you need in your time of life? I think that's where I would go in my research, is kind of Frankenstein all of these bits together into my paper while sourcing, right? Citing all of my sources, but that's really where I would go. What do you think, Ross and Nicole?
Yeah, I definitely think I agree with saving your sources, and even if one source doesn't literally tell you what you thought you were going to hear, don't scrap it. Use it for what it's worth to you. Even if you change your topic, it might still be worth it. So definitely consider. Don't just be like, oh, it's not exactly what I thought it was going to be, so I'm going to throw it out. Don't do that. Do what Jason said. Collect. It's creating a bigger picture. Mm-hmm. Understand that when you do a research paper, a research project, you are going to learn new things that you didn't know before. It might seem obvious, but it's going to expand. You're going to have to be open to changing your viewpoint in a little way, maybe even a big way. I want to point out, when Ross was mentioning what he found, it sounded like a pretty intense, maybe type research study. You'll notice, oops. If you ever, what's that? Shift Control Plus. Come on. Okay. Scholarly research articles, such as you can find on Google Scholar or in the databases like I have pulled up here, can be very specific and very kind of hard to read, for lack of a better, just to put it plainly. Here is a scholarly research article. It's peer-reviewed, so scholarly. The effect of water temperature on orthostatic tolerance, a randomized crossover trial.
Oh, sounds boring.
And it might be, but
it does. It sounds boring. Does anyone know what that is right now? I mean, come on. What are we talking about? We got to dive in.
Right. And
we got to dive in.
Database EBSCO host.
I think ortho, that's going to be teeth. Yeah, Medline's a good one.
Oh, good. The Latin roots. Ortho.
I think ortho is going to be teeth, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to click on one of the links under available in full text, probably available in full text. And this is illustrating a process that you as a student or faculty or staff will go through if the databases are working. Thank you. They were 100%. Broken earlier. It happens sometimes.
All right, let's take a look.
Hey, bolus water drinking at room temperature is going to improve, blah, blah, blah.
Cardiovascular, orthostatic.
Is this for humans?
So what's the result? There was no significant difference in OT in the cold. Okay, cardiac, heart, conclusions. This is how I read normally, you guys. Bolus, drinking water, cardiovascular. I'm not really sure at this point. I would assess this and say, hey, do I need this? Is this on my... But if you look, students and everyone watching, look how many authors are on this paper. All those authors are not putting their names on the line to be wrong in print. That's a pretty humiliating process to actually sign up for. So if there's multiple authors on an academic journal article that you found from a college library database, I would say we're good as far as the evaluation, right? We're good.
And Jason was reading on the conclusion, and just to wrap up with this point right here, if this was this is illustrating effect of different temperature water on a human on some aspect of their physiology, the orthostatic tolerance. It is humans. And it says using a cold water bolus, I don't even know what that is. I have to Google that for sure if I was using this for a paper, may result in additional benefits in patients with orthostatic intolerance above those confirmed by bolus water at room temperature. So I can conclude peer-reviewed articles saying that cold water is good for something in certain people that have a certain situation. Okay, data point. If I'm diving into this and this is my paper, I'm going there, but you can see, kind of how we have to dig a little bit deeper in these
Always. You always have to dig. And just a little bit more research here, that the ability to prevent hypotension during gravitational stress. So this is really when you're elevated at elevated levels, right? Like in the mountains, in the high Andes mountains and stuff. That's where this is going to come. Not tooth. So even taking a look, is like, oh, I think it's something. It's like, no, once you do a little bit more research. But you could see, folks, we're going all over, but we're really looking at the one original thing. We've taken 30 minutes. That's why research is going to take you a little twisty and turny, right? And I'm imagining many of you are in the IDS course, your first year experience. You know, it's going to keep getting more intense as you go on. But think about your parents. Think about other folks who are like, you know, my mom always says, I said, Mom, where'd you hear that? She said, oh, the internet told me. That's not a person. It's not a thing. It's not a human. It's not a thing.
Mom answer.
I am, and she points. Where can I find that article, Mom? On the phone? On my phone?
So before we wrap up, or as we wrap up, we want to thank you for joining us today. And remember, Jason, Ross, and I are librarians, and we are here to assist you with research, citations, and information needs. There's no question too big, no question too small, no question too weird. We want to hear it. We can save you time, and we can save you stress. So why haven't we heard from you yet? You can make a research appointment or use 24/7 chat. I put those items down here in the banner. They're found on our library website, where you can find other ways to contact us. Remember, we're here to help you. Reminder.
Click the link once. I put the link in the chat. Alejandra, we got you. You're good to go. Anyone else watching? I see 3 eyeballs on there, so that's 45,000 billion people watching.
Oh yeah,
we appreciate. We appreciate all of you watching all over the world. If you need attendance, go ahead and click that link once. You will need a Raider Connect account to log into, but I think this has been good. We looked at a bunch of different things, evaluated some websites. It's our first research rally live of the summer, everyone. It's a bot librarian summer. All right.
By the way, the 24/7 library chat is not bot.
It's not a bot. Okay? It's not a bot. I was trying to do hot.
Just
okay.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Okay, bye. This is where we wave and it's over. Okay, bye.